Mm, Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's another webinar. This is April edition, the last Friday of the month of April. We are welcome in this very important section. And just like we also on the flyer, we'll be talking on Introduction to Excel. Introduction to Excel. Very important software for any workspace. So this is coming to us from Geophia Academy, a tutorial center where we take students for JAM, WIEC, O-level exams. We just finished JAM exams and then with excellent performance on the students. We also prepare students for foreign exams covering SAT, GRE, GMAT, IGCSE, and many other foreign exams, and also assist students for admissions in foreign schools. Also take students from basic computers to tech courses. That is one of the courses we're also taking right now, as well as registered students for NYSC and other students that have been out of school for a while. You can actually return back to school through our platform by the process of adult education. So in this monthly program, every last Friday of the month, we spend some time to take one of the courses and also give it out for free for every one of us that joins the meeting. You can share the link to any of your friends and relatives to be a part of it. It happens every last Friday of the month. And just like I said, this program is from Geophia Academy. The anchor person this afternoon is myself, Mrs. Sophia Kiwamu, and I will be welcoming our facilitator this evening as he takes up the program. And also we are live on the YouTube right now. You can also get back to the YouTube series even after the course is sit tight, get yourself settled as you learn new skills that will help you become more productive, more engaging, and even more relevant, even in your workspace. God bless you. And as I welcome Mr. Innocent online. Mr. Innocent, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. So we're going to be looking at Introduction to Excel and with as much as we can to be practical. For those of us who don't know what Excel is, we'll start first by defining what Excel is. Excel is part of the Microsoft Office suite. It enables users to perform complex calculations, create charts, build models, as well as manage large data sets. Now, this is a very, this is a mouthful. So just make it a little bit easier. But before then, let's look at another definition of Excel. We can call it just a powerful spreadsheet application that is developed by Microsoft. It is used to organize, analyze, calculate, as well as visualize data using a grid of cells arranged into rows and columns. Simply put, Excel is that tool you want to use when you have large information you want to process. So that could include numbers and all of that. So an example would be if there's a population census in Nigeria today, a lot of data will be collected, and this data will vary from one person to the other. All of that information has to be entered into a system where people can derive insight from that data set. So data set is just simply a large collection of data. And data is very, very simple. Your name, your age, where you live, your height, what you do for a living, all of that combined is what is known as a data. Now, when you collect that data from multiple individuals, it becomes a data set. That's what it means. So Excel is that tool you can use to make all of that very, very easy and present it in a way that anybody that understands English, that understands basic arithmetic can look through whatever you've done and will understand what the data is saying. That's what Excel is. So some of us will be asking, if we have Excel that can do all of these things, how can we use Excel? Excel is available in multiple platforms. So it's a cross-platform application, meaning any kind of device you are using at home, you can use Excel with it. So Excel is available on Windows. It's available on the Mac OS operating system. If you have an Android phone, you can also use Excel on it. If you have an iPhone or an iOS phone, you can also use Excel on it. So Excel is available across the board. It doesn't matter the tool you are using, you can work with it in Excel. So to get to the meat of today's webinar, I want to start by asking a simple question, because I want us to be a little bit practical, and we are going to go into Excel in just a minute to help us understand how the Excel interface looks like and basic things we can do using Excel. Most of us, I would say almost everyone on this call has gone through a school system where in a term you write tests, you write exam, and at the end of the term, the teacher is expected to give you your result. And that result is going to be the accumulation of your test score across all the subjects you've written, the accumulation of your exam score across all of that subjects added together and divided by the number of subjects you wrote. That sounds like a mouthful. So maybe with Excel, it can help us understand that better. But what I'm trying to explain is this. In a school system, for example, where we have, let's say, 1,000 students, they're all writing exams, they're all writing tests, and they have multiple courses or multiple subjects. How can you bring all of this data into a single application and make it make sense to anybody who is looking at it? Excel is your guy. So this is one of the reasons why I gave that example. Now, to understand Excel, a couple of things we need to understand. First off is the concept of an Excel workbook. An Excel workbook. So just like the name implies, imagine an Excel workbook like a book. So this is just a picture of a book. And if you've seen a book before, you know that within that book, you can have a lot of information in it. Excel workbook doesn't just exist on its own. Excel workbook is usually accompanied with Excel sheets or Excel worksheets. What does that mean? You have a book. In that book, it contains pages, right? And each page is supposed to contain a unique information. So an Excel workbook can contain multiple Excel worksheets, just like a single book can contain many pages. This is what Excel workbook and Excel sheet looks like. To help understand what an Excel workbook is, if you look at your screen right now, we have a file. This file is named ABC Logistics. And if you look at the end, there's an extension .xlsx. Now, this extension is what makes this file an Excel file. So this can be called an Excel document or an Excel file. But at the same time, this is what an Excel workbook is. So it's simply a file containing data or information that is processed using the Excel software. This is what an Excel workbook is. So this is a file containing Excel information. It's as simple as that. Because we are talking about Excel workbook, let's go to Excel and try to create an Excel workbook. So I'll switch over to Excel in this case, and on the screen, this is what Excel looks like. The moment you open and click on your Excel application, the first page you see looks exactly like this. And this is called this is basically the default interface you see, or the startup page. From here, if you're already familiar with Excel, you can choose from a couple of already made templates here where you can just go directly into creating with Excel. But for this webinar, I'm going to assume we don't know anything about Excel, or we are not very conversant with Excel. So we are going to start from scratch by creating a blank Excel workbook. On this page, the first option here to the right, to the left is blank workbook. That simply means you want to create a file, and in that file, you want to put Excel related information, or you want to do Excel related processing in this file. The only thing you have to do is just to click on blank workbook, and here we have an Excel workbook. It's that simple. Please, for those of us who are on a mobile phone, the best you can do in order to get better visual is to enable your auto rotation, I think it's called, so you can switch your phone from portrait to landscape. That way you get a better visual of what's going on the screen. And please, while we're at it, if there's any question, if you have any question, just leave it in the chat and I'll be coming from time to time to answer them. So this is an Excel workbook. This is an Excel workbook. Now, in this Excel workbook, we can add a lot of information to this workbook. Sorry, I can see some people annotating the screen I'm sharing. Okay. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, in this Excel workbook, what I want to do is to zoom in a little bit so we can get a little bit more visual on what we have on the screen. Every time you open an Excel workbook, usually you are met with these grid lines. You see boxes all over the screen, and sometimes it's confusing. You don't know what to do, what exactly to type, or where to type, and all of that. So the first thing I want to do is to start by highlighting a couple of places you can start from. In Excel, we have a lot of tools, and these tools make it a little bit difficult to understand. So let's try to break it down one at a time. First off, at the top here, I don't know if you can see that box I just drew and make it red. So at the top here, we have what is known as the tabs. So these are your Excel tabs. And if you see the way the tabs are listed, they are named in a way that just by looking at the tab name, you can tell exactly what it's doing. For example, we have home. This is where all your Excel, the most used tools in Excel, this is where they are. Then we go to insert. Insert is an English word. It simply means you want to add something. So that simply means if you're working on this Excel and there's a need for you to maybe import an image, you want to bring an image into your Excel, you can easily insert. If you want to insert a shape like a circle, a square, a triangle, you can simply do that from the insert tab. So this area here at the top is called tabs. All right, so these are your tabs. Now, we have another area here. This area here is what I'd have to redraw that again. This area here is what is known as the ribbon. This is what is known as the ribbon. And if you look at this ribbon has some kind of demarcation. For example, there's one demarcation here, there's another one here, there's another one here, another one here, and the demarcation is all over the place. If you go to any tab, you see these same things. So they are grouped into different groups. For example, this is clipboard. This has something to do with cutting, pasting, copying, and all of that. The thing you can do with clipboard. We have fonts. This has to do with your font size, your font color, the font family you want to use. If you want to make a text bold, if you want to italicize a text, all of that is done within the font group. And like that, we have a lot of them. So these things are named in a way that it's easy for you to just look at it and switch to a tab, go to a particular group and pick the tool you want to use. So these are all tools within Excel. Before we proceed, let's look at another aspect of Excel, which is the concept of rows and columns. Now, I drew this to look up to mirror the Excel interface. All right. So you can see in this Excel, we have a lot of rows and columns. So what are the rows? The checkers or the boxes that run from left to right is what we call rows. Then the ones that run from up down is what we call the columns. So if you go back to Excel, you see a lot of it up, down, left, right. That is what we call rows and columns. Because if you remember, I said we are going to be dealing with a lot of data. So this is presented in a tabular form. So all that rows and columns you see is for you to enter information in between each of those. A simple example would be this particular box here, just one of these boxes is called a cell. So we have rows and columns, and then one of the box itself is called a cell. An example would be here, if I go to D and I select this particular box, this is called a cell within Excel. And then of course you see these rows and columns are made up of multiple cells. All right. Now let's start with the main thing we have for today. Today, I'm going to be working with Excel, and we are going to do it in a practical way. So what we are going to be doing is simple. We are going to be working with creating a simple personal budgeting tracker. So your personal budget tracker, you can just put that in Excel, and every time you make money, put it there, it keeps track of it like that. Let me give a backstory to this so everybody understands what we are talking about here. So basically, we are towards the end of the month. We are expecting maybe a couple of hundreds to come into your account. Well, how do you know how much you've made this month or last month? And how do you keep track of it? With a tool like Excel, you can create a simple budgeting tracker or a simple personal budget tracker to help you keep track of how much you've earned, how much you've spent, and how much is left. Very simple. This same approach can be adopted for anything at all that has to do with numbers. Just like I was given an example of being a teacher in a school, you have to prepare your result, there's test, there's exam, multiple subjects or multiple courses. All of this can be done using Excel. But I chose this because I believe this is something that everybody can relate with. Like I said, if there's any question you have about any of the things I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of minutes, I want you to just leave it in the chat and then I'll come and answer them. All right. We'll switch to Excel now so we can experiment with all the things I've been talking about in theory. Here we go. So here in Excel, one of the things we see people do most times is if you open an Excel document or an Excel workbook, at the bottom of the Excel, you see a single Excel file will have multiple information. For example, if I call this innocent file, which means my file, I can decide to create multiple sheets. We are going back to workbook and sheets now because I want to quickly demonstrate how you can create a sheet in an Excel workbook. Now, with this, at the bottom of your Excel, you can quickly, I want to highlight that so you can see that at the bottom here, there's a plus. First of all, if you open the Excel workbook, you see sheet 1. Then next to that shift 1, you're going to see a plus sign. That plus icon, you can click on it to add another sheet to this Excel workbook. Why do we do that? Because with Sheets, it makes it easier to have multiple information in a single Excel file. So for example, Geophia Academy, we have employees, we have students, we have budget, we have all of these different things that we do. We don't want to mix student information with employee information with our budget information. So because of this, a single file containing information about Geophia, but we have different sheets. So think of sheets as pages. We have different sheets dedicated to different things. That's the importance of using the Excel sheet. So what do? We come to this sheet 1. All you just need to do is double click on the sheet. By the time you double click on the sheet, what that does is it makes the name of that sheet editable. We can now edit it. So if we are going with the Geophia Academy analogy, I can come here and say employee. And now we have a sheet dedicated to the employees of Geophia Academy. We click on plus to create another one. You can see by default, Excel names it sheet 2. I double click on it again to remove that dummy or that default name and give it a new one like students. And then I can add another one, double click, and then call it budget. So a single Excel file containing multiple information. What does that mean? It simply means every time I open the budget sheet, the information contained here should not be anything outside of budget. If I open the student sheet, it should contain student-related information. The same thing to the employee. So with this sheet, we can make or we can group related data. Now, you're not limited to just creating only 3 sheets. If you want, you can have 100 sheets in a single Excel file. And yes, it is possible. All right. So this is how we work with sheets. Because we are talking about budget or personal budget, in this case, I'm going to switch to the budget tab. And then we are going to walk through what it means to create a simple budget using Excel. And then we'll experiment with it as we close. Now, the first thing you do in Excel is to give the Excel sheet, a title. The reason for that is the moment you open that Excel sheet, somebody should see at the top what that Excel sheet is doing. An example would be if I click on this cell under A, this cell under A, if I click on it, I can start typing immediately. The cell under A, I can just start typing, or I can click on the one under E and start typing, or I can come down a little bit before I start typing. Now, to help us understand all this, we have to use something called cell referencing. Let me explain. If I click on the cell under A, two things happen. This cell belongs to a particular column. In this case, column A. I want to zoom in a little bit more so we can see it clearly. All right. So if I come here, this is the cell I've selected, but it is under column A. This cell also belongs to a particular row, which is row 1. All right. If I come here and I click on this particular one, it belongs to the column C. And then if you look on the left-hand side, it belongs to the row 4. So this is what we call cell referencing. How do we do it? We say this particular cell is under C4. So first of all, the name of the column followed by the name of the row. So we want to say, the moment you say C4, it means this particular column. And as you keep changing it, the value will change. A quick way to understand what that looks like is simple. The moment you select a cell, if you check the color of these columns, these alphabets at the top of this Excel spreadsheet, you discover that this one looks a little bit different. The color is a bit darker, and it has some kind of green underline, telling me that this particular cell is under this column. The same thing to the row. You see, 3 is a little bit darker compared to the other numbers around it. And it also has this green border as well. This is how we identify the current cell we are on. So if I randomly click on this one, it says what? F7. This is how we identify rows, columns, as well as cells in Excel. Let's get started. So first off, what I want to do is I want to give this Excel file a big title or heading so that every time you open this file, you know exactly what this sheet is used for. The way we do that is to select multiple cells like this. So for example, I have selected from A to H. So from A1 to A2 to H1 and H2. And then what I can do is under my home tab, click on merge. And what this has done is it has merged all of these cells, these multiple cells and columns into a single cell. Now I can type whatever I want to type here. So what do I want to type? For example, personal budget, like this. So this becomes the heading of this file. The moment you open it, you see personal budget, you know that, oh, this file is supposed to contain budget-related information. If there's any question, leave it in the chat. If there's any question, we can quickly leave it in the chat. All right, so what I did was, first of all, I selected multiple columns like this just by clicking on where you want to start and dragging to where you want to stop. And then you click on merge and center. And that will merge everything together into a single cell. Then you click on that cell and type your heading. What some people also do is to make that heading stand out. So you double click to go inside, highlight the text you want to format. We click on B to make it bold. And we can also increase the font size to make it stand out. This is how we work with cells. This is how we work with merge. And this is how we can format text to stand out or make it look a certain way. Right now it's bold. I can also decide to make it italic by selecting the text and clicking on this I. And now it has been italicized. So this is what it means to format your font. I can decide to change the color to something else, let's say red. All right, so this is how we work with Excel. Now to get started, because this is personal budget, one of the things I also want to do is this budget I'm making, how do I want it to look? It's very, very important to do this. How do I want to represent the information I want to provide in this budget? For example, is this weekly budget? Is it monthly budget? If it is weekly budget, I have to format it a certain way. If it's monthly budget, I have to format it a certain way. So let's assume we are going with monthly budget. How do we do that? Well, simply put, I can start from this cell here, which is B3. And then here, I can go in and add a heading. The reason why it's good, we first of all give our column a name or the column heading. It's simple. If I write January, that simply means everything that appears on this column is for the month of January. I come in here and I do February. The same thing, March. Now, because we're in April, let's stop here. April. Okay, let's just fill out the remaining cells. April, May, June. Let's stop here at July. So now you can see that the information here is supposed to be information for the month of January, February, March, April, continuously to the end. The next thing I want us to do is to format this heading to make it easier to understand. And one of the ways we do this in Excel is by using color. For example, if I select from this cell to July, so from A3 to H3, I can decide to give it a particular color to make it stand out. Because we are working with this, I want to use a darker color. And then the text, I'm going to make the text white so it can stand out from it. You see, so with this, it's very, very easy for us to not just put information into the Excel, but format it in a way that is easy to read, as well as it is also pleasing to the eyes. Now we are going to stop here and hear a quick word from Madam, and then once we come in, we flesh this out and we continue. Madam, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Innocent. Thank you, everyone that is on call. It's a monthly meeting that holds the last Friday of the month of every month, and this is exactly the last Friday. So always tune in. We sent in a link for registration so that we'll always send you a reminder for this monthly program. We pick up any of the courses. This program is coming to us from Geophia Academy, where we take students from Nigerian exams to foreign exams, so computer courses. And each of these months, we pick up one of the computer courses to have basic knowledge for everyone to learn. And this is also on the YouTube series. You can as well get back to the YouTube platform and pick up review the section again. And you can listen carefully to also learn. We can do online classes. We can do physical classes right here in the office. We can as well do home lesson. So at any level, wherever you are, you can pick up any of the courses. Like we cover courses for Nigerian exams, we go through JAMB classes. I would just finish JAMB exam, and now almost we can say we have almost 100% excellent results year 2026 JAMB as well. We also go through programs, WIEC preparation, ongoing, NACO, GCE, moving to foreign exams where we cover SAT, IGCSE, we prepare students for IELTS, TOEFL, GMAT, GRE. All of those courses will also help candidates to register for those foreign exams and even get in for school placements. We also prepare students for tutorials on these basic computer courses from zero computer to any level that you can also imagine. We cover graphic courses, web development courses, front end, back end, cyber security, ethical hacking, even as Excel. We are right now on PowerPoint, as well as cyber security. Get into and to learn any of these courses, UI, UX, you can learn. There are basic things you can truly get in, and gradually you begin to move from one level to the other. And also very important one, if one has been out of school for a very long time, want to return back to school, we can navigate your way by taking you through our adult education programs that helps you to learn from basic knowledge of ABCD into reading again, into getting in back to academic plan. So in Geophia Academy, we take you all of this thing, and this is our monthly program. Always be alert to receive the link and join us 4 p.m. every day, just a 1 hour section. And if you have questions, please feel free to send in your question on the chat. Even after the meeting, you can as well send in or call for any relevant information. We are there to assist you in any of this. And we also help students on counseling, mentorship, to get them aligned back to their track. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, it's a monthly program, and each of these programs are on the YouTube series. Thank you, and sit tight as we continue this section. God bless you. Mr. Innocent, you can go on.
Okay. So to continue from where we stopped, now that we have all the months listed out, this A3 cannot be empty, so we need to add an information there. What do? We are going to call this place revenue. Now, at the bottom here, I also want us to identify something here. We're going to call this income. Why are we putting income? Well, the income here is going to represent the different places where we are getting this revenue. I also want to make this row a little bit different from the other rows. So to do that, I go to my fill color, just like we did for the top. I also want to fill it with another color like this. The reason I'm doing all of this at the same time is I don't want to put in the information first and then come back to it. Try to make it look good. So I want to do it all at the same time. Let's proceed. So now in this income, it's simply asking us, anywhere you make money from, list it here. So for example, I'm going to put, I'll enter salary here. The next column, let's assume the said person has some kind of a, let's say side, let's call it side hustle. So the amount you make from that side hustle will also be accounted for. Then finally, we are going to add total. So let's assume in January, your salary was 10,000. The side hustle brought in 4,500. You put it here. In February, salary 15,000. Side hustle 4,000. You put it here for each month. And then what is the total supposed to be? The total is supposed to be the salary plus the side hustle gives you this amount. I don't know if that's clear enough. Now, the next row, I want to add a different kind of information that is going to look similar to what we have here. So this is revenue, which means the money we are making. This, I'm going to call it expenses. Remember, the same thing. That simply means for every month, we are going to be making expenses, right? So we'll put it here. You select from here to here, give it the same design as the one on top here. So the fill color for the For this is going to be this shade of blue, and then the text is going to be white, just like before. These expenses you are making is for what? Is it for home? Is it for office? Whatever it is, this is where you highlight all of those expenses. So for example, let's say this person has expenses that is for the home. All right, this expense is supposed to be for the home. So we select this and we do the same thing we did before, give it this color. So what do we put here now? This could be a mortgage. This could be your internet subscription, your TV, food, you name it. You can put all of that in here. So let's take a look at some of these expenses. We are going to put food. We are going to put, let's say, internet. We are going to put entertainment here. Let's make it wider. Okay, so here we just have a little bit of information. And then finally, we're also going to put the total here as well. Please, if there's any question, leave it in the chat. If you don't understand what's going on here, any question at all, leave it in the chat. Now, if you look at our budget up to this point, we have, this is going to be the all the columns we want. We can add as many columns and as well as multi, because in your personal budget could contain things. Another thing, apart from revenue and expenses, we could have investment. You can put that as another information you want to track. Because of time and because this is just a 1 hour webinar, I just want to highlight something we can do and see it practical. Okay, so let's assume for a moment that this particular person earned a salary of 10,000 in the month of January. And the side hustle was, let's say, 6,000 for that month. This total, because we are working with Excel, we don't need to say or bring up our calculator and say 10,000 plus 6,000 is equal to 16,000. So we put it here. We don't want to do that. Because with Excel, it should be easier to work with numbers. That's why Excel is able to give you information that is contained in your data, because Excel has that capability. This is one of the most powerful tools you can learn as someone in 2026. So let's see how we can calculate this total without having to manually use our calculator. The way we go about it is simple. We have different methods, but I'm going to use basic arithmetic operation to get this to work. And for those of us who are thinking, I'm not very good with maths, you don't have to think too much about that. This is what it looks like. We have the concept of formula in Excel. So your basic 1 plus 1 can be done in Excel using formula. Another way of doing this is also using something called a function. A function is simply an already made program that you just need to call on to get a job done for you. Just like most of us here use ChatGPT these days. I want to write something. Okay, let's put it in ChatGPT. Something like that is called a function. That's why it's called an agent, because it helps you to just get things done without you having to put in all of that effort. So we have a function as well. To calculate the total this person has earned for the month of January, the only thing we need to do is simple. We come into this column where we are supposed to put the total earning or total revenue for the month of January. And then we type equal to. That's the first thing. If you are using a function, if you are using a formula, you must start it with equal to. After that, all you just need to do is either call a function or do basic arithmetic. We are going to work with the two. So let's take a look. Now that I said equal to, Excel knows this person wants to use either a formula or a function. So all I need to do is simply this 10,000. The moment I click on 10,000, you see that border around that cell, which is cell B5. So that simply means take this cell B5 and add, you can see I'm using the plus sign because to get the total, you have to add and add whatever is in sorry, okay. B5, then I can say plus, this is still a big column. The side hustle is on what? 6. So I simply put B6, B6 like this. And then I hit enter. And Excel helps me to calculate this easily. This is what we call a formula. So it says take the value, the information on this particular, or in this particular cell, and add the information in this other cell to it, giving us a total of 16,000. This is if you are using a formula. To use a function, which is also another way of doing it, all you just simply need to do is you have to know the name of the function you want to use. In this case, this is addition. But in Excel, we don't have the addition function. We have the sum function, which is another word for addition. So we just simply say sum. So SUM followed by the open parenthesis or the open bracket. After that open bracket, you can just select the row you want. This is called range, a range of cells from this to this. This is going to be a bit confusing, so I would just want us to stick with using the basic arithmetic, which is saying add B5 to B6, like this. Very simple. Now, the cool thing about doing it this way is, if we had made a mistake, for example, this person did not earn 10,000, the person earned 19,000 instead. All I just need to do is I come to this cell and change it from 10,000 to 19,000. And the moment I click out of that cell, Excel automatically recalculates the total. If the side hustle brought in 6,500 instead of 6,000, I change it to 6,500 and Excel automatically recalculates the total. But if I have not used a formula, that simply means every single time I change the value, I have to manually calculate first and then enter that value myself. This is the power of using Excel. So with this now, we can calculate simply the revenue without having to do too much. And now this is where Excel becomes very powerful. Now that I have this calculation done for the total, I don't have to recalculate the total. I don't have to do the same thing for the remaining months. All I need to do is, if I select the total for January, all I just need to do is drag it to July. You can see Excel says 0, meaning because these two places are empty, this person has not earned a dime. If in the month of February, the salary still remains at 19,000, can you see? The total is automatically calculated without me having to rewrite that formula. Excel is very, very powerful. If the side hustle this time around dropped to 4,500, Excel has everything figured out. So this is how simple it is to work with Excel. So from here on out, I can just insert some random data and Excel just handle the information for me. So let's do this way. All right, so 13,000. Do the same thing for the side hustle. And from here, we can easily see how it is to work with Excel using either a formula or a function. This is why this is important. Now we know how much we earn in the month of January. What do we do? After getting all of this earning, we have to make some expenses. So let's assume this person spent 11,500 naira on food, 2,000 on internet, and 1,500 on entertainment. This total we are calculating, please, let's know that this is going to be the total for all the expenses this person has done for the month. So the same thing we did here, the same thing we are going to do here. But this time around, instead of considering only salary and side hustle, we are considering both salary, sorry, we are considering both food, internet, and entertainment. Please, before we start wrapping up, I just want you guys to type in a question on any of the things I've said so far, and then I'll answer, and then we can proceed and close for the month. If there's any question, please leave it in the chat. I'll quickly answer that, and then we complete these expenses or this budget tracker. I'm in the chat now. If there's any question, is there any question on the whole thing we've talked about so far? Okay, I don't think there is any question. Is there any question? All right. For now, there's no question, so go ahead and complete this before. Please, while I'm wrapping this up, if there's any question, you can still leave it in the chat, and then I'll answer immediately I'm done. So now, how do we calculate the total? Remember, we used a formula in the first instance. So what we just simply do is we create another formula for calculating based on this available information. So to repeat what we did before, we said we start a formula with a question with an equal to sign. So equal to, and we say, take this cell and add whatever is in this cell to it, as well as whatever is on this other cell. What's that cell? That cell is B12, B10, B11, and B12. This gives us 15,000. This is not enough. This is not enough information. We need a way of summarizing all of this information. For example, just by looking at this at a glance, how do I know if I still have money left? How do I know my account is not in the negative? You can do all of that as a summary underneath. And I also want to use a little bit of coloration for that. So in this case, I want to move a little from this. Okay, let me just go with black. All right, so this is what I'll do. I'll take okay. And this time around, I'm going to go with another shade of black, but this is going to be a couple of shades darker than what we had before. All right. Now, because this color is too dark, I want to make sure the text is white. So I'm just going to select the white. All right. So here, we can keep track of multiple things. This place can be our balance. The balance for the month. That is, we subtract our expenses from our income or our revenue for the month. So here, let's just simply put in here balance. What's going to be our balance? We take the same thing, another formula. We say, take our salary or our earning or revenue and minus our expenses. Like I said, this is basic arithmetic, plus, minus, division, multiplication, and all of that. We just do that like this, and that's all. We hit enter. And this tells us we still have 10,500 naira left. What if we're in a situation where the spending is more than the earning? For example, instead of spending 11,500 naira on food, the person went ahead to spend 25,000, or no, 25,000 is too. Let's say the person went on and spent about 18,000 on food, okay, and then spent 5,000 on internet, as well as, let's say, 3,500 on entertainment. It tells us we are 1,500 naira short. All you just need to do is update this information here, and automatically it gives you the balance. Now, this is going to be my gift to everybody on this call. If you want a more exhaustive personal income budget or whatever tracking like this, you can let Madam know, and we are going to send you a copy of it for free. And you can just put in your earning, your expenses, and at the end of the day, you know what the projected balance will look like. If you are in the red, it will let you know. If you still have something left, it will let you know. One final thing before we wrap up. Now that we've calculated this balance for January, we need to also extend that to the end of the month, to the remaining months. So we come in here, we click on it, and we drag across down to July. And you can see here already. Why? Because we don't have any expenses. So basically, the amount to earn is still the amount here. But the moment I come to February and I put in let's say an expenses like 10,000 naira on feeding, it still doesn't change. Why is it not changing? Because this total here has not been extended to July. And when it is extended, you see 13,500 naira is what is left. This is how you use Excel. Entering data using functions or formula to work on that information. And then from there, you get an outcome. For example, salary and the values here, these are all information I'm entering. At the end of the day, I'm getting the total calculated automatically. These are my expenses. It's being calculated automatically. And this is the final way of telling me if I have outspent my budget or if I'm still in the green, meaning I still have more to spend. So this is a quick overview of how you can create a personal budget tracker using Excel. Thanks for listening. Again, just a minute or two. If you have any question, please quickly leave it in the chat. I'll answer that and we'll be done for the month. All right, Madam, it's over to you. While you close, if anything pops up, I'll quickly jump on it before we say goodbye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for this very edition from Geophia Academy. I believe it would have been a very exciting moment. And I think I'm seeing a question already. What was the function you used to calculate the balance? You used two systems, the arithmetic section, the formula section, and the equal sign type of calculation. So it's so important that we develop ourselves. And like I said, this is a monthly program that holds the last Friday of the month. We are coming in from Geophia Academy, where we take students for JAM, O-level exam, from WAEC to NECO GCE, as well as foreign exams, including SAT, GMAT, GRE. Also, we prepare students for several other foreign exams and also help them to register for the exams, IELTS, so forth. If you're going to any of the Europe countries or America, you have basic exams to write. So we take students and get them ready to write those exams. And we also prepare and teach students basic computer, from zero computer to the tech world. And just like we took one of the courses this evening to an introductory arm, that is introduction to Excel. You can learn the full package, either online, you can learn physically, especially for those of us that are not in Lagos, you can learn online. Anywhere in art, just like you hooked up, you can be taught. You can also learn even from their home front. And also we have a course program that's coming up and been working on that. And very shortly, watch out for Geophia courses that will be coming in online so that you can learn. It is a learning world. You cannot be left out. Get yourself ready. Little by little, begin to make progress. Like I said, we take courses on Excel, PowerPoint, graphics, video editing, front end, cyber security, ethical hacking, UI, UX, digital marketing, name it, even in this AI world, the digital world. Learn any of the software packages and you get yourself advanced to become relevant, both in your workspace and also in the society at large. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, we also take students for adult education. We take students for adult education. For more questions, you can send it to us directly. Anywhere you are confused and you're not very clear, we're also there to give you clearer answers so that you can move on with your day-to-day engagement. I hope to see you again next month, the last Friday of the month, just a 1 hour section. You pick up 1 or 2 lessons to move on. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank our facilitator for taking the section and as many that are on the crew to set the system up there and get on for excellent journey for the rest of the month. Thank you so much for joining. God bless you. I think there's a question, they might be here to just throw more light on that.
Okay, so somebody left a question. The question is, what was the function you used to calculate balance? The name of the function is sum, S-U-M, sum. That means the summation of something is another word for to add. All right, so it's called sum. So you say equal to sum, open bracket, the range of numbers you want to add together, and then you close the bracket, just move away from that particular cell and to be calculated immediately. All right, thank you everyone, and see you in the next one.